We got Outman, we got Keirsey, we got Roden, we got France. Oh my, it's Locked On Twins report card season ready to fly. So get strapped in and get Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello again, and welcome back to yet another edition of Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warne, and you have been watching, following me, whatever, covering the Twins for 15 years, and I've been watching them for twice that long, dating back to the 1993 season. Fun fact, that was a terrible year to get in on the Twins, but I digress. Thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And, of course, we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Love to hear from our everydayers in the feed, so be active in the comments on YouTube. Give us a 5-star review wherever you're listening. Thumbs up and subscribe on YouTube, all that good stuff. We love to hang out with you and talk to you. You can find my written work on Daily Norseman and the Access Twins newsletter, in addition to Locked On Twins. In this episode, we are going to keep on moving on in our grading of the 2025 season. We have 3 outfielders, and it's not exactly a wrap on guys that hit for the Twins this year, but we're going to get to a point where it's players who didn't play that much. In fact, this list is definitely partially that. And so we'll mix in some guys the Twins traded with a Twins grade and an overall grade for those players. Before, though, we get to that, we do have to mention that this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Okay, so we have gotten fully into the outfield, and with all the guys that the Twins traded at the deadline, we're going to be diving into a couple of those. An up-down guy who had a lot of speed, good fourth outfielder potential, but wasn't this season. And then we'll talk a little Ty France, too. His team headed to the World Series. Not really on the strength of anything he's done this October, but hey, a ring's a ring, right? So let's dive in headlong into outfielder James, don't call me Josh, Outman, /147. Yes, that's legit, not a typo. 221, 337 in 104 plate appearances with the Twins, a minus 0.7 baseball reference WAR, minus 0.4 Fangraphs WAR, and it's been bad for quite a while for Outman, and really all how Outman can hang his hat on is it's admittedly a nice season in 2023 with the Dodgers, but now we're 2 years past that. It's been uneven playing time. There's been a few things that I think have been maybe unfair to him on a player standpoint, and at the end of the day, you eventually just start running out of time. And I think that that's possible not only for Outman, but the next guy we'll talk about too. And I still think, though, that there's something here with Outman because his 2023 season was so good that I can't throw that away yet. Now, he is entering his, 26, age 20 died season in 2026. So it's not as though you can really lean too much on the he's young, there's still time situation. Again, I think there's still maybe something there that defies maybe the statistical profile he's shown the last 2 years. The full season player he was in 2023, I can't just flush. And I also can't just flush the fact that the Twins traded Brock Stewart for him. And not that, I mean, they weren't going to hold on to Stewart anyway, but I don't think you can flush Outman after 100 plate appearances of, uneven playing time, a little more even though than before when he was with the Dodgers. And, in a spot where the season had gone down the tubes to that point. I think you give him spring training, give him some runway into the season if you can, and then probably ends up being the guy shoved aside when Emmanuel Rodriguez is ready, Walker Jenkins is ready, something along those lines. But you do have to say too, then, what does your roster look like? Can you justify him over Trevor Larnach? Can you justify him over Austin Martin? For sure not Martin. Larnach, I mean, with Martin, at least it's like, I don't see really a way they'll move on from him. It just, it's not that part of his career. Whereas with Larnach, he's due something like between $4 and $5 million in arbitration this year. They may flip him, and that would open up a spot, or just non-tender him. So I don't know that there's excuse me, I'm still battling that throat thing here. I don't know that you can justify keeping him over those guys without something else happening. I also don't know that you can justify just dumping him if you traded for him just a couple months ago. That would, to me, seem to have you'd be really penny wise, pound foolish, or short-sighted, probably a better way to put it. But in 2023, don't sleep on how good he was. 151 games as a 26-year-old. And he had 117 weighted runs created plus. He was almost a 4-win player on Fangraphs, and good defensive value. Now, backup center field, there are some contenders. Martin's in that conversation. Rodriguez, there's guys, there's options. But with that said, I feel like if you could give Outman just a little more time before you dump him, I think that would be ideal. I don't sense that he's one of the guys they're going to outright here early on in the offseason. Not as much as I think that they might with the next guy. And I think the way the Dodgers operate kind of screwed Outman over. And so after 2023, I mean, every year they're not likely to let guys have jobs when there's free agents available, whether it's going out and getting a Michael Conforto or someone like that. I think Outman getting pushed aside by the Dodgers, rather than letting him have 2024 to show what he could do, the playing time in the big leagues has been hit and miss, with a lot more miss. Not entirely unlike Outman's strikeout and walk profile, but I digress. I feel like you got to give Outman just a little more runway. I think the Dodgers kind of did him dirty. And it's because they're the Dodgers. They don't wait for anybody. They don't have to wait for anybody. They're playing in the World Series against the Blue Jays because they don't have to wait for anybody, and they can operate as they see fit. So, I mean, I know Outman, again, 147 average. Defensive value, not really there. Granted, more in the corners as Buxton was healthy enough to play for the bulk of the season. And I still, I want to reiterate, you'd probably have to move on from Trevor Larnach to really make this, a viable option to give him a look for the first month or two of the season. I would say I'm slightly more willing to do that just because of the ability to play center. I think, to me, that alone is more valuable than a corner outfielder on the long side of a platoon. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't keep all these guys. And there are guys like Jeff Hoffman who are going to slip through the cracks, for better or worse. And if you're going to lament everybody that ever gets away and goes somewhere else and has success, it's going to be a cold, cold world out there. I don't know that Outman's going to get away and he's going to tear it up for somebody. But I do think the skill set is a nice fit for what the Twins have right now and is worth a little bit of a longer look. Somebody in the comments did say a platoon of Larnach and Martin could work. I think Outman and Martin might actually be a really good platoon too. So we'll see what happens there. But I think it's only fair for us to, before we head off to break for the first time, share our grade for Mr. James Outman. And it is... it's an F. Yeah, I don't know how you could in good conscience give him anything but that. all the things, all the tools that he appears to have, but maybe didn't showcase with the Twins. That's all good and well, but it's a performance business, and he didn't perform. So we have an F for James Outman. We're going to take our first pause. When we come back, we'll talk about DKJ, Allen, Roden, and then get into a little Ty France discussion, another guy who's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. Not really sure the Twins will consider bringing him back, but hey, stranger things have happened. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table, and nobody wants to do that. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. It's all your financial apps in one place, helping me organize my accounts, work with my wife so that we can have common financial goals and keep up with these things together. Collaborative. You got to love it. And Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where my money's going and how to make it work harder for me. And again, helping me organize my accounts, track my spending, get a better handle on my investments, all of that. And you don't even have to touch a spreadsheet. You don't even have to be one of those data type nerds like I am with your finances. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarch.com and you'll get 50% off your first year. That's right, 50%. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss, because right now new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Now, I've seen put down 5, get 100, 150, 200, 250, but never, ever have I seen 300. And I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play, whether it's a same game parlay, live action, you name it, FanDuel has got it. Makes watching football even more exciting. You're already watching the action. Why not get a little action on the action? And whether you're a casual fan or if you're a stat freak like me, diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, back here for the second segment, Locked On Twins, rolling through more Twins grades. We'll be coming up on pitchers here pretty soon. I think we'll maybe go a couple episodes of traded guys, and we'll throw in, like Jose Miranda is going to be hard to grade because he barely played. And he's not going to get a good grade anyway because he did not play very well. But believe it or not, he was one of the guys with the Twins very, very early last year, and it's easy to forget that. And we'll see what his future looks like too. Another guy who could be on the outright train out of St. Paul. All right. DaShawn Keirsey Jr., 107, 138, 179 / 88 plate appearances, did steal double-digit bases, but minus 1.2 baseball reference WAR, minus 0.9 on Fangraphs, and not entirely unlike Outman in that I think there is a good fourth outfielder in here. I just don't think the Twins are going to find it. I think he's a better version of like Aaron Whitefield, who the Twins had up a few years ago as a situational base runner and that sort of thing. I think Keirsey could hit if he was given a little bit more of a chance in the major leagues. The problem is I don't know that the Twins are in position to give him that chance. If you can go to a bad team as a fourth outfielder and then hit your way into a spot, I think that's where Keirsey might thrive. And then from there have considerable value with his wheels and his defense. Headed into his age 29 season, so he's not particularly young. I do think he's going to get outrighted here pretty soon. And I would hope the Twins would be willing to bring him back, and that if he's willing to come back, he's going to have at least other teams giving him a look. I don't know if anybody will give him a better opportunity than the Twins will, especially based on the fact that playing time is hard to map out when you go to a new organization. And if you're looking at the Twins as a team going young can also mean going inexperienced as opposed to just straight up young by age. So I think the Twins and Keirsey, if they can hang a little bit longer, maybe there is an opportunity for Keirsey to be the fourth outfielder, whether there's injuries or someone gets traded or he just plays his way into that spot. I still think there's potentially a pretty decent player in here. Like Darren Mastriani, that really one season he had where he was solid and gave the Twins some value as a fourth outfielder. I think there's maybe something like that in there. I don't think there's a starter or anything like that. And like, you can't just quit on the exceptional speed, but at the end of the day, 102 plate appearances into his big league career, he has a -7 weighted runs created plus. No, not a typo. It is below 0. Not too much that you can tell from 102 plate appearances. And he was solid at St. Paul, /250, 335, 436. That's a 100 weighted runs created plus. The run environment in AAA this year, I think, was a little bit more hitter friendly because some of these guys weighted runs created plus figures, him, McCusker, were a bit lighter than I expected. So Keirsey was 116 the year before. So he has, I'm not saying he's conquered the level, but he definitely is, he's proven what he needs to prove at AAA. He's kind of on that quad A express. So, we'll see what the future holds for him. And yeah, I still think there's a very talented player here. I almost said a very talented young player. Young compared to me, sure. But I just think it's, I just don't think it's going to happen here. I know I keep saying Denver and Colorado for the Rockies. If he could go there and be their center fielder, not that they need one because they have Brenton Doyle, but an opportunity where he could play a full year and get 500 plate appearances. I think you'd find out he's certainly not a 107 hitter. It might not be a number that starts with a 2 and has a digit of 4 or 5 after it, but with some speed, with some defense, some stolen bases, you don't have to be, a world beater with the bat to be a valuable player. So with Keirsey, really, as much as I hate to say it, only one direction to go with his grade, and it is, applause please, or actually not, hold your applause, drum roll please. Yeah, an F for DaShawn Keirsey Jr. as well. I know. Yes, I'm aware. Yeah, I don't want to give him an F either, but he got the opportunity in a couple spots to run, and he can definitely run. He can steal bases at this level. If he plays a full season, I think he could swipe 40 bags. It's just a matter of getting on base enough to do that, because he had a 138 on base, and he did not get on base all 10 of those times. There were many, I would guess 8 or 9 of those 10 stolen bases came from pinch running opportunities. So there's another level there. I don't think it's going to happen in Minnesota. I hope he's back at St. Paul next year, flanking, Emmanuel Rodriguez and Walker Jenkins in the AAA outfield to start the season. But I'm just not sure that's in the cards. So we'll see what happens there. Let's take our final break. We'll run off quick here, and then I've got Alan Roden down the stretch, and then we'll talk a little Ty France. We don't need to spend too much time on him. Twins traded him. He's almost certainly not coming back. So we'll have a little bit of a parting shot on Ty France, but we'll talk mostly Alan Roden when we come out of the backside of this break. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting tickets, that's the tough part, especially with the World Series coming up. You got queues, login screens, surprise fees. It takes all the fun out of it, and that's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are already included, so the price you see is the price you pay. And again, fees included. So what you see at the beginning of the transaction is what you'll pay at the end. None of those surprise fees from the other guys. And zone deals, pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. It's a no-brainer. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, let's bring this thing full circle. Before we do that, I do want to thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. For your second listen, find Game Night, MLB Game Night, Locked On MLB Game Night to be more specific. Every game, every night until a World Series champion is crowned, whether you're all in on the Blue Jays or are resigned to the inevitability of the Dodgers. You can get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. All right. Alan Roden, one of the key pieces for which the Twins traded Louis Varland. Roden in 40 plate appearances, slashing a 158, 200, 263. That's a minus 0.5 baseball reference, WAR minus 0.2 on the Fangraphs side. And got about 10 days into his Twins tenure, sprains his thumb, ends his season a couple days later. And with that said, the results such that Twins fans have been kind of, lamenting that he wasn't very good. He didn't have great numbers with Toronto either. Granted, this is a guy's first time in the big leagues. So, you have to, it's hard to build patience into that or preach patience with fans who don't have much to begin with and then kind of had their hearts ripped out at the deadline. And then again, when the owner said they were staying. With that said, I do think that Alan Roden is going to be a difference maker on this team. I don't know if he's the answer at first base or in the outfield yet, but I do think he's going to hit. Heading into his age 26 season, now I want you to hear the last 3 years full season numbers from the minor leagues. 150 weighted runs created plus at AAA last season. In 125 minor league games in 2024, he had a 138 weighted runs created plus. And in 115 minor league games in 2023, it was 151. Double-digit walk rates everywhere he's been. Strikes out less than 15% everywhere he's been. There's one small anomaly in there where it was like part of a season in like New Hampshire where he was 15 and change. So walks as much as he strikes out, which is incredible. He is 153 plate appearances into his career. The numbers not amazing. 56 weighted runs created plus, a slash of 191, 261, 294. I'm glancing at his Fangraphs page now. Fangraphs likes his defense though, plus 2.3 runs defensively. So he did play just a little bit of center. It was a lot of left between the Twins and Blue Jays. And center field's really not going to be in his future after you consider Buxton, Rodriguez, Jenkins. So Roden in the corner or first base. His career high in the minors and home runs is 16. He stole 14 bags that year. I'm not opposed to having a first baseman who hits 16 to 20 homers if he gets on base at the clip he did in 2024, which was 391. That's why I've been talking him up as someone who should lead off instead of Byron Buxton. Move Buxton down. Let Buxton hit behind a guy with a 390 on base. And I'm certainly not saying, he's going to do that in the major leagues, but these are his OBPs at stops along the way. 374 in low A, 437 in high A, 421 in double A, 373 the next go around in double A, bumped up to triple A, 406. Triple A this year, 423. If he's going to be on base that much, you've got Austin Martin who's going to get on base a whole bunch. And I'm starting to think maybe I go the route of if everything comes together like I would like to see, you go maybe Roden, Roden, probably Martin ahead just because I think he's going to slug less. So Martin leadoff, Roden second, Buxton third, Keishel fourth. And then just based on who's hitting, whether it's Royce or Warne or Jeffers, whoever's swinging it better, I think that's when you kind of start building a lineup that should score some runs. Now, again, I've been saying they should score some runs for a couple years now. I just have hope, and it probably says a lot about me or reflects a lot on me that I think these things will work. But I think that this is their best chance to have some on-base percentage at the top of the order like they haven't had in a while, and it'll allow Buxton to drive in some more runs, which, I mean, name of the game, right? So let's put a bow on Alan Roden. Drum roll again, please. I'm giving him an incomplete. Now, an F based on results, but an incomplete based on the fact that he barely played for the Twins. Yes, and I know that's a hot take. I believe there's a very good player in here. And I'm not saying I want to be first on Alan Roden. I don't want to do a hashtag please credit situation here. But I really do think Alan Roden is going to turn some heads next year. And his numbers in the minor leagues, they remind me a little bit of like a faster Jason Kubel. And you look at how he's built and his setup at the plate. And I've been watching, like I said, a lot of old Twins games. I think there could be a Kubel-y type of player here with maybe a little more defensive versatility. That's a darn nice player if you can hit on a guy like that. And certainly the Twins are hoping after trading 5 years of Louis Varland. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm a big Alan Roden guy. Ty France is how we'll come full circle with this one. 251, 320, 357 slash in 387 plate appearances with the Twins. 0.7 B-WAR. I have the wrong Fangraphs WAR for him. I apologize. I have a minus. I copied and pasted my script over. So instead of I have Ty France as a minus 0.7 Fangraphs WAR. He's actually plus 0.9. So I don't want to misrepresent. I want to make sure I let people know. I had transposed it from my Mickey Gasper episode or my segment. So if you didn't hear much about Ty France after he left, he did basically the exact same thing he did with the Twins. He hit 277, 320, 372 with Toronto. That's a 92 weighted runs created plus, which is the exact same mark as he had with the Twins. So 92 weighted runs created plus, solid defense. He's a Gold Glove finalist. I think all those concern trolling pieces about how, his defense is so bad, he doesn't hit. One thing we have to understand is year to year, guys improve, guys fall off. They're working on this stuff, and there's just things we don't know, injuries or things that are slowing guys down or holding guys back. France might get a World Series ring. That's cool. Who knows? He could sign with the Twins again this offseason. I don't think that's in the cards. I think as a holdover patchwork first baseman on a team that had aspirations, he made some sense. He's heading into his age 31 season. I don't think he fits in with this bunch. And I honestly really not sure how he only slugged 360 this year. I did big, strong guy. I don't know if he just doesn't, when he hits the ball, it gives like a dumb and young vibe where it never seems like it's squared up that hard. I don't know. With that said, 302 weighted on base average. His expected weighted on base average was 337. So if he can trend in that direction, 337 is the weighted on base average he had in his breakout. Well, not breakout, but his second good season with Seattle in 2022. And he slashed 274, 338, 436. Defense wasn't great, but he was still a 2.6 Fangraphs WAR player a year after he was a 3.2 Fangraphs WAR player. So if he could reach that expected WOBA, somebody might have a nice little find in Ty France next year. Again, probably on a one-year deal worth, who knows, $5-6-ish million. He did take a step forward, bumped his single season WAR by almost two runs or two wins, excuse me, which is more to say he was minus 0.8 in 2024 and plus 0.9. Not too much further you can go down than that. So I gave him actually, I got to get the drum roll in here first. Drum roll, please. I gave Ty France a C, both with the Twins and with everybody, because he basically had the same season with the Blue Jays as he did with the Twins. Yeah. Thank you. So with that said, we're going to run over this quick one more time, and then we're going to get out of here. James Outman, F. DaShawn Keirsey Jr., F. Alan Roden, incomplete, but based on results, an F. And then Ty France gets the C. Offense, meh. Defense, pretty good. And he played first base, so I can't give him too much of a boost for defense. But in general, not a horrible season. I just think the Twins need to aim a little bit higher at first base moving forward, or at least take a bigger stab. And that's what Alan Roden would be at first base. Well, hey, this has been a blast. Thanks for staying up with me. It got a little bit late on this Tuesday into Wednesday morning, but again, thank you. This has been Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warne, saying thank you so much for hanging out, and we'll see ya tomorrow night.